to me, it feels like there's, if you think about a windscreen on a car, like the front windscreen in a car, it's default. Like when you get it out of the factory, right, it's clear, absolutely crystal clear. And as we drive around, if it starts raining or there's mud splattered up on the windscreen and it's raining, and the windscreen wipers go, right? And there's constantly more rain and more mud coming onto the window. And the windscreen wipers go, and every now and again, like just for a millisecond, the window's completely clear. But then the windscreen wipers going and the mud and the rain and all the rest of it, and it gets dirty again, right? But then we have these moments where we see the true nature of the windshield, right? The windscreen, which is completely, completely clear of any muck and dirt. And then in it comes again. And that's just the nature of windscreens, right? Like they're in cars, cars are designed to be moved. And when they move, they come into rainstorms and they go across muddy bits and they get crap on the windscreen. It's just the way of windscreens, right? I don't know why they're designed that way. Like that's just the way of it. I'm not going to try and argue that it should be any different, but because it's just the way of it. And that's all the principles are saying, is that our mind is clear by default. Our experience is pure, wide open love by default. And then it gets spatters of thought all over it that cloud our view, cloud our judgment, that color our pictures that appear. And it's like we look outside of the car. And this is answering another question in Facebook, where I'll come back to the metaphor in a minute, but in Facebook, someone was saying, like, if you saw someone who was really anxious and scared and having panic attacks, like, what would you say to them? How would you point them in this direction? What would you do? Like, how would you help? And there were some beautiful answers in response to that. I love reading everybody's answers. But my answer was, and this is what someone asked me to talk about more tonight, my answer was, well, I'd help them the best way I could. But if it looks to me like there's an anxious person in front of me, I really want to take a look at my own grounding, because there's no such thing as an anxious person. There's no such thing as a terrible traffic jam. There's no such thing as a miserable Christmas or a brilliant holiday or horrible weather or a mean sister. Like every adjective is just thought. There's just people, there's just weather, there's just holidays, there's just weather. Can't remember if I used that one. And then thought creates a story of whatever it is that we're seeing. In truth, there's no people, there's no weather, there's no traffic jams, but we're never going to go there tonight. So it's like we're looking out of the windscreen and there's a person standing in front of the car. And if we don't have this understanding, we go, why has that person got so much muck on their face? Like, how do I help? What this person was asking in Facebook group is, I can see a person in front of me and they've got muck all over their face. How do I help? What do I need to do? How do I help them clean their face? And my answer to that person is the mud's not on the face of the person, it's on your windscreen. Thought creates reality. Our experience is created from the inside out. If there's mud on our windscreen, it's going to look like the person in front of us is muddy, but they're not. They're just a person in front of the windscreen that happens to have mud on it. So all we're ever seeing is the degree of mud through the windshield. We're never seeing we're never seeing a muddy tree and a muddy flower and a muddy dog and a muddy pavement and a muddy person. We're simply seeing our own windscreen. And it appears as if the things in front of that windscreen have got mud all over them. And then sometimes in a moment, it looks like they really haven't. And then it looks like they've got loads of mud, and then it looks like they have a little bit of mud, and then it looks like they have really black mud, and then it looks like they have really see-through mud, and then it looks like they have brown mud, and then red mud, and there's lots of different colors of mud and degrees of mud, but it's all just mud on your windscreen. The idea that the person has got mud on them is that's just the misunderstanding.